Hi guys. I am going to do a quick video before I go to work today because I finally opened my Dr. Doom Marvel Legends figure, and he is one of my favorites that I've gotten in a minute as a figure, but he's one of my favorite Marvel characters, even though I'm not really into the Fantastic Four. So I thought I would tell you about Dr. Doom's origin story, why I'm into it so much, why I love him so much, and show off the figure real quick. So here is the Marvel Legends figure. This is the pose that I will have him in, and there's a really good reason for that. This figure is awesome, you guys. He's really substantial. Like, he's got heft to him. The texturing on his tunic and robe are really detailed and different than a lot of figures I've seen. But anyway, we'll get into that after the origin story. So for those of you who don't know the origin of Victor Von Doom, he is from the fictional country of Latveria. His parents were a gypsy healer, his father, Werner, and his mother was a blood-born dark sorceress named Cynthia, which is such a funny name for a blood-born dark sorceress, but those are his parents. And one day, the Baron of Latveria approached his father to heal his wife who was dying of cancer. By the time that Werner got to her, he knew that it was too late, but the Baron said that if she died, he was going to kill Werner's entire family, including little Victor, who was about 8 years old at the time. So the Von Dooms flee Latveria, and they have to do it on foot. They gather all of their things together with the Baron hot on their heels. They get away. But in the process, his family, Werner and Cynthia, have to send little Victor off with Boris, who is actually his lifelong companion and right hand, so that they can get away. It's too cold. They don't survive. So Victor, from that point on, decides that he is going to avenge his parents' death, which is one of the best, most classic ways for any villain origin story to begin with. And the next time we really see him, after he has learned everything that he can about his father's healing and his mother's sorcery from a book that he found of hers, he goes to the same university as Reed Richards to study science. So they meet immediately when Victor gets there, and Reed is like, hey, you're a scientist too, let's be roommates. But Victor is determined to be the most superior human being on Earth at this point. His goals have really sort of warped and changed. Rather than just avenge his parents' death, he has to avenge his family against all of humanity. So he says, screw you, buddy, I'm solo, and goes off on his own, already really salty for no reason. So that's really great, because then Reed and Ben get to room together, and we know how that all turns out. But one day, Reed does wander in lab and finds some notes for what he's working on, which is basically an attempt to open a portal to another dimension so that he can bring back his sorceress mother and learn all that he can from her. Well, Reed actually, surprisingly, isn't bothered by the nature of these experiments. He does warn Victor when Victor pops in and catches him snooping through his notes that he'll probably get kicked out of university. But the main thing, and what leads us to Victor becoming the Dr. Doom we all know and love, is that Reed notices some errors in Victor's computations and calls him out. He's like, hey man, be careful. You're off a few decimal places here, and if you try to do this experiment with your calculations off, some bad stuff's gonna happen. And Victor gets outraged. No way, I could never be wrong. And he goes ahead with it. There's an explosion, and he suffers from some minor facial trauma. Now, it's really important. This is why I love Dr. Doom so much. It's really important to note that they point out and repeat sort of specifically that anyone else would be totally grateful to have sustained such minor injuries from this explosion. So yes, there were some scars and scratching on his face, but nothing compared to his reaction. So he wakes up with bandages wrapped around his face and looks in the mirror and freaks the freak out. He thinks he's hideous. No one should ever look on my face again. And he's covering his face and smashes the mirror and runs away to Tibet, as one does, to live with monks. So he lives with the monks, learns from them, ultimately learns how to build this armor and the mask that covers his face, And in his high drama of "Don't look at me, I'm hideous," he, after they're forged the mask, before it's entirely cool, smushes it onto his bare skin, thereby actually destroying it, and has to run out into the snow face first, spread eagle, to cool himself. And that is how Dr. Doom got his mask and the armor that the Tibetans built him. It is the most hilarious story to me. It is so high drama, so preteen girl, don't look at me. But he actually ends up being a really awesome villain too. He's really smart, he's really strong, he's really powerful, and he is bloodborne to magic, which can come into play. So after all that, he immediately goes after Reed, and then all of the stories that we know proceed from there. So this figure is really near and dear to my heart because I love that origin story so much. And it really is awesome looking. It's heavy, it's substantial, it's way heavier than the cuckoos that I just looked at. Or, I mean, I even just got She-Hulk, who you can see right here. And she's an awesome, substantial figure. This is heavier. So it's like you get the sensation of his armor and how like laden he actually is if you were seeing him in real life. The mask is awesome. This is actually what the original mask looked like. It did not have the grommets on it like like the armor does that came later. The texturing on it actually makes it look sort of like this awesome jersey, which would be pretty modern for the time of his origin. So I think that's really cool that it sort of shows his intelligence and ability to work with materials, which is great when you're going up against Reed Richards. You've got to have the brains too, and he definitely does. Another thing I love about this is his gun holster actually opens, and you can take out his little weapon. So I like that as an accessory a lot because, like I said, I am going to have him with his fists in the air. So I sort of just like having that stored there, but it looks really, really good. The additional accessories he came with were the detailed mask with the actual like little rivets on there. You can see those. And then the hands that he came with were not the fists. I switched out the fists. So these are just sort of like open, like casting type hands, and then one that you would use for holding a weapon. So I actually adore this figure. As much as I love that story, I love him too, and a great spot on my shelf. And I want to offer up, for anybody that's interested, this came with the Super Scroll Build-A-Fig left leg. So I will go ahead and post on my Facebook page a picture of this. Anyone who wants it will do the same thing. We'll go until 12 Central Standard Time tomorrow, Saturday. If you want it, comment. If you're looking for this Build-A-Fig piece and you haven't found your Doom yet, go ahead and comment, and then I'll just do the wheel random name choosing thing. It doesn't cost much to send it, so I don't need shipping or anything, and I'll just send it out to you. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed hearing about Dr. Doom's origin, and I hope you liked the figure. If you get it, you're going to love it. If you haven't found it yet, keep trying because it's definitely worth it. All right, thanks so much for watching. Have a good day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.